for everything. And now what we're ready to do is we're actually ready to kind of start hooking this all up. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the foot, I guess we'll just start here, it doesn't really make a difference. Select the armature and go into pose mode. And we're going to select this lower leg, and we're going to add a bone constraint for it. And that bone constraint is going to be inverse kinematics. And now we get that hooked up. We want to do two objects, and then the target we want is foot IKR. And then to test and make sure everything works, I select this, and if it goes up, you can see that that leg is kind of popping, so that's working. Repeat the same thing over here. We come over to this one, arm constraint, inverse kinematic. Target to, this is going to be left, and increase the chain to 2. Select this, move it up and down, confirm that's done, Control Z to undo, and that one's all set up. The arm, same idea, we grab this one, inverse kinematic, target is arm IK left, and this is only 2. Once again, we only want to go there. Grab this, select it, and that works. Come over to this arm, inverse kinematic, and this is going to be arm right, and this will be set to 2. Grab this, pull it in and out, and we're good to go with that. And then this one is, for the head, is a different type. It's actually called damp track. In every other program, this is called a lookout constraint. And we want to basically aim this to the head track. So let's go down, head target. And that orientation is going to be wrong. So we're going to do Z. And what will happen is it actually spins, so it's always pointing on that axis at this. So that's what we're going to use to basically aim and animate the face. So now this item and this and the head target, and the 2 feet. Nope. Get out of pose mode. Okay, all of those needs to be a child of the master control. So object, parent, object. Okay, so now that's all hooked up, and I'm going to turn off the relationship lines just for, okay. So that's our full-blown rig. So now we just have to do what's called skinning and hook it all up. So we can pull back up the geometry, and hopefully everything's still aligned. That's one problem, because once this stuff off, it gets pretty off, so you want to try to keep everything to a minimum as far as the amount of movement you're going to do to it. And we're going to select the geometry, and what we're going to do is we're going to create things that are called vertex groups. And the reason we're going to do that is we're going to create these different groups, and each group is going to be associated with a different bone. And when we do what's called skinning in some programs, and this is using an armature constraint, the bone will influence the vertices associated with that group. So for instance, let's go in and do the arm real quick. Okay, so this is lower arm bone underscore R. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to go over to vertex, and I'm going to add a vertex group, and this is going to be lower arm bone underscore R. And then I'm going to go into edit mode. Actually, I should have done that first. Confirm that it's selecting all the ways through. You might have to toggle to make sure it's going all the ways through the surfaces. And assign all of those items to that. So if I hit A and I do select, it confirms that I have those. So now I'm going to go over and do the same thing on the other side. So I'll select all of those. I'm going to create a new, and this is going to be lower arm bone underscore L. And we're going to assign those. So now all those items. For the feet, we're going to do the same thing. So I'll select these. This is the left side. Add. So this is lower leg bone this right here. Create a new group. This is upper leg bone underscore L. Assign. Order select those. Add another one. Upper leg bone underscore R. Assign. Do this one for here. Add another one. This is lower leg bone right. And at this point, I think the only two we have left is the head. So this is our head bone. So we'll select up. Make sure you got nothing else selected. Select that. Add a new one. Call this head bone. And assign those. And then everything that's left, you don't have to assign to a group. If you want to, you can, but you basically, we're going to parent the geometry to the armature, so that's anything that's left is going to get controlled by that. So if we add a new one, in other 3D programs it doesn't work that way. That's just how this one, usually you associate all these with the root bone, but that in Blender doesn't work, so you can't do it anyway. Okay, so we have all those associated, all these different groups, and if you want you can go through and deselect, and you can highlight any one and hit select, and you can see I forgot to do that one, so that's actually a good test. Highlight that, assign, hit A to deselect, hit select, and okay, we know that that one's right. Deselect, head bone, select, that one's right. Select that one for the leg. You can see that one's not right, so it's a lower leg bone right. Assign A, and then select here. Okay, that one's right. Select, got that one. Getting there. Select and select, and should be the last one. Okay, so those are all good to go. So that's all set. So we'll take the geometry. We're going to go add a modifier, and the modifier we're going to use is Armature, and it's just going to bind to Vertex Groups is basically what we're using, and the object we're going to do is our Armature. And if everything works, if I grab this, okay, you see how the geometry is bending. Let me change the view so you can see this. So if I take this and I move it, oh, no, that's the Armature. Okay, so that's the last thing I need to do, is I need to parent everything. That's the one thing I haven't done yet. So the let's go back into wireframe. Sorry about that. So we have that selected. Hold on. Select the armature. Select the frame, and then no, that's the wrong way. Sorry. Select the frame. Select the armature. Object. Parent. Armature deform, and then armature deform again. And now if I grab this, everything else goes around. So you can see it's all moving now. So if I grab the root control and do it, you can get them to dance, etc. So it's all working as far as that's concerned. And let's do, okay, so everything's going along except for the eyeballs and the gumdrop buttons. So we'll grab the each of the gumdrop buttons, and then grab the armature, and we'll parent that. Parent object, okay. And then for the eyeballs, we want to actually do that to the head bone. These aren't a problem because it'll basically be assigned to the main bone. So if we go around, it's not going to be a problem. If we go to rotate, it kind of hooks up and there isn't an issue. But with the head, we can't hook it up to this, the eyeballs. We have to actually hook it up to the bone. So the way to do that is to use the constraint modifier, which we used in the last demo, child of, and then choose armature, and then do the actual bone of going in and saying that you want this the head bone, and then set inverse to set the rotation back. Select the other eye, object constraint, child of, armature, head bone, set inverse, and then finally select the mouth, do the same thing, child of, armature, head bone, set inverse. And now if we switch this back into this preview mode and hit now, everything goes along and everything's hooked up. Now the two things we want to do, one is to basically make this look a little bit more visually interesting. The other thing is right now we can't animate the mouth at all. So for the mouth we're going to create a thing called a shape key, and this is commonly used for facial animations. In some programs it's called morph targets and others called blend shapes. So we access this from here and we're going to create new key shapes. So the first one is just basically your default, that's your basic mouth, and then you're going to add other ones that you can basically animate to as other targets. So I'm going to add another one and I'm going to call this smile. And what I want to do before anything else is I want to make sure that the thumbtack is down for the smile when I actually go to edit it. So it's pinned. And I'm going to do edit, and I'm just going to quickly, it's not going to be a perfect smile, but get that, and then let's take this, stretch that out and up, and switch this out and up, grab that, and shrink that down a little. Okay, so we have that, and now I'm going to turn the pin off. Oh, get out of edit mode. And okay, so we got the pin off and we got the smile. Now at this point we haven't set a value. If we go to set a value, it basically animates between the two. And in order to key this, you can basically right click and do insert keyframe. The other option you can do is you can go into the dope sheet, and I already have it here. Default dope sheet is you pull up and there's a shape key editor where you have a slider as well, and you can see the instant you do that it shows up. And this is a common way that people do it, because you would have smile, eyebrows, cheeks, anything else would all be listed here as you would actually go to animate and set it up. So this is a pretty simple and pretty handy way to kind of get everything. Let me just, okay. So the last thing I want to do with this is want to get it a little bit more rounded. So I'm going to go to modifier and add the subdivision and increase the view, and now you can see that what's going to happen is we get a much nicer looking shape that's much more accurate and pleasant, because it's being distorted and then the subdivision surface modifier is being assigned to it. Well, we actually want to do the same thing to the body as well. So I will grab the body geometry and I will add a subdivision surface, increase it to 2, and then turn on smooth, and all of a sudden you can see we have something that looks much more like a basic gingerbread. And you can see, and the nice thing about it is because of the order, it's going to distort and then smooth, so you get this really nice look to the geometry, and it makes everything look a lot better. So the last thing we want to do is we want to go through and just turn on and off different things. So the eye we don't need, the right eye we don't want to select, the mouth we don't want to select. If we open up master control, the eye caves we want to keep, the head target, the root control we want to keep, the armature, however, we don't want to be able to select any of that. So now the only things that we can select are here. The body needs to be deselected as well. The buttons, so we'll go down and get all those. And the mouth we might or might not want to keep on, so that's one that we want to look at depending on how we're animating it. If we're just going to go through the dope sheet, it's not as much of an issue. But you can see I don't have it selected right now, so it's not going to show up, so I need to make that available. So you want to go back and find the mouth wherever we had it and turn that one so you can actually select it, because you're going to need to have that available as an option. And that concludes that tutorial.